Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having us here today. I'm so excited to be here. I haven't been here since pre-COVID, so it's nice to be back in action in Austin. Have the great pleasure, and given that it's International Women's History Month, as well as International Women's Day this week, I'm most excited to bring up our guest here today. She's one of the most distinguished actors and businesswomen I've had the pleasure to collaborate with, Priyanka Chopra Jonas. Yes, that deserves a huge cheer. Now I'm going to brag about you for a little bit. I first met Priyanka 5 years ago, and since then I've really been blown away by her courage and her ambition. She's not only an immensely talented actor and businesswoman, she's an innovator, she's a trailblazer, she's a UNICEF Goodwill Ambassador, which is incredible. She's the recipient of the prestigious Danny Kaye Humanitarian Award, and most recently she became a mother to her beautiful daughter, Malti. That deserves the biggest cheer. She has more than 20 years of experience. Yes, scream away. She's a rock star. She has more than 20 years of experience at the highest levels of the global entertainment business. She's won numerous accolades, including 2 prestigious National Film Awards and 5 Filmfare Awards in her home country of India. I knew India would get a cheer. She's the founder of her production company, Purple Pebble, which I'm proud to be working closely with at Amazon, and because she just can't get enough done, she's a New York Times bestselling author. Priyanka stars in our new series, Citadel, so we're going to get back to that in conversation, but I know you all got a peek there of it. Thank you for the cheer. It's a new groundbreaking series that we're both incredibly excited about, so we'll talk more about that as we go along. But when we first heard about that, we actually, between the Russo brothers and Angela, who are here today somewhere, we just spent time with Angela backstage over at Agbo. I got together with them when I came over to Amazon 5 years ago, and I was so excited to be able to really grab the harness of what a company like Amazon could do in storytelling that would be truly global. So we got together and came up with this plan, but I've been kind of hand to hand with Priyanka for the whole journey. So I hope you enjoyed the trailer, and we can't wait for you to see the show when it launches on April 28th. But now, here's Priyanka. It says, without further ado, I'm introducing her, but here she is right next to us. So we'll jump right into this, and I think, we really bonded when we first met. And we sat down at a restaurant in Beverly Hills for a drink, which I think turned into hours of conversation.
And a few drinks.
Yeah. And some food, because she loves to break bread over meeting people. And me too. And so we ended up having this really incredible, inspiring conversation that was so just stood out for me in the sense that this is a woman who is a creator of her own universe. I just read everything she's accomplished and more. And she has such a vision for the impact she wants to have on the world, and a confidence at the center of it, and just an enthusiastic kind of ambition. And there's nothing I like more than a really smart, ambitious woman who is excited and positive about jumping in and creating all of that. And she could see it. We could see the road ahead and what we could accomplish with over 250 million Prime subscribers all over the world, and taking an artist and a visionary like Priyanka and putting those two things together. So that started our love affair.
Yes, it did, and it was 5 years ago, but first of all, hello everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. Very excited to be speaking here in front of you in real life. Like Jen was saying, it's so nice to be actually here, meeting people, seeing your wonderful warm smiles. It's just really lovely. But going back 5 years, I had started, working in the States. I'd started working in America about 10 years ago. I'd just done a TV show, and I was looking to expand after doing a network TV show, and I was meeting people, and Jen and we met after hours because I feel like in business, my best deals come when I break bread with people, when it's over food, you know, it's just the Indian thing. And you just become friends, it's just easier. We became friends, talked about our dreams and ambitions as women in the industry. Jen had just taken over the mantle, being one of the very few heads of studios in Hollywood who are female, and she came in strong with ideas, and it actually makes me really excited and emotional that Citadel is now coming out, because it was all Jen's brainchild. And as you will know a little bit more about the show, you'll understand how truly ambitious and one of its kind it is. The show that you just saw the trailer of is predominantly in the English language, but it is a global series because it travels the world. Our characters travel the world. We have local shows, one in India and one in Italy as of now, with many more that are a possibility, which are going to be stories connected in the language that the makers know, like Italian people writing the Italian show, doing the Italian show, people who speak Hindi writing the Hindi show, but all of those stories being connected with ours. So that has never, I feel, ever happened in entertainment, and only a streamer with the might of Amazon would be able to do that, and the vision of Agbo, the Russo brothers. And she just called them, I mean, Joe tells the story really well, but she just called them and was like, okay, I want to create this global franchise of completely original IP in multiple countries at the same time. Not ambitious at all. Not at all, but you know, they're up for the challenge. And I mean, to throw it back to you, what was going through your mind? Because this is ambitious. This is not just like you have to go into a boardroom and talk to people and convince them to spend that money on a completely ambitious, one of its kind, first time idea. Like, and you've just joined the studio. How does that happen? What is that conversation like?
Well, for me, I've been lucky to work at companies where, even as working in linear network business for so long, to really think about outside the box. I mean, I was told by Peter Chernin at Fox, if you bring boring and it's successful, fine, you may or may not keep your job. But if you do something that gives everyone a stomachache, but it's incredibly exciting and we all jump into it together and it works, amazing. If it doesn't work, you know what, we'll back you on the next one. So I really was born into this business with a lot of confidence in the people that I surrounded myself in that way, at NBC as well. But coming over, obviously, to a place like Amazon, where the scope of what we could do was exponentially, you know, monstrous compared to what I had been doing. And I was watching the industry. I was watching how we were all devouring content from different countries, and our favorite show we were addicted to was coming out of Latin America or Spain. And I started to really think, how do you create a truly global show? And that was really the thing that kept me up at night. And how do you do it with a tentpole kind of big show that commands the attention of the global audience, which we know how to do. If we have a great show, we know how to bring them. And then how do you really make it feel truly global, where it's actually speaking not just as a big US, you know, made, produced show for the rest of the world, but that they're participating in it. And so the first thing we did was after the Russos, and started to talk to some of our most prolific creators in India who are creating our biggest hits there, and also in Italy, and getting them really excited about this idea. So just to keep it clean for everybody here so you understand it, there's a Mothership series that Priyanka and Richard Madden are starring in. And then you have this independent show. It plays into the lore and the timeline, and it's under the canon of what we hope will be a new IP. And it's telling a story that if you're watching the Mothership show, you'll find yourself seeking out the show in India. And if you're watching the show in India, you could be watching it and loving it on its own, and you'll be aware because of the global tentpole status of what Priyanka's doing and Richard on this show, you'll be aware that there's this bigger show and you will see the connective tissue there. So it really is a deeper experience for fans to learn more, invest more in character and what we are bringing to them as far as a storytelling that expands outside just one show. It's not confusing, it's incredibly entertaining, and it's a really big idea.
It's a giant idea. I mean, you're telling me that someone who speaks Italian and probably not English or Hindi would, because they loved their show as a standalone, might seek out a Hindi language show and, you know, watch it with subtitles because they love the characters and they love the world. And then someone who doesn't really speak English very much can watch the English language. So like that is true globalization. I feel like in America we talk about diversity and inclusion, right? And we're always talking about what diversity looks like, and how, you know, everyone should be represented and everyone, you know, should be seen. But I think true global diversity also matters. Everyone also needs to be heard. It's not just about the way you look in entertainment. Diversity is about how you sound, the words that come out of your mouth, the language that you use, the country that you grow in. Thank you. And I really do think that if we're talking about global entertainment, like a streamer like Amazon has the power to be able to have entertainment and entertainers. Like, I mean, come on, guys, we've had a movie win the Oscar, which people watched in subtitles. I mean, my background is from Hindi language movies, which are known as Bollywood movies as well. And as an actor who spoke in a Hindi language, you know, I always wanted to be part of English language entertainment, but I just never saw the Hindi language medium translating till streamers came in, and people from across the world are watching entertainment from across the world. I've watched Iranian shows, I've watched Korean shows, I have watched shows from around, Italian shows, French, and I don't speak the language, but the acceptance of being able to watch entertainment with subtitles is such a joy for me, and I feel like this even, you know, having someone, having representation when it comes to speaking to people that I don't speak to. And that is subtitling for me. Like when I first saw my mom disappear into her bedroom and watch Korean dramas all day, and I was like, what are you doing? And she's like, I'm going to Korea. And she'd be gone for hours. And it just showed to me that entertainment, I always knew that, because the oldest form of entertainment is storytelling, right? Like your grandparents or your parents tell you stories before you go to bed, and you sit, you know, around a fire with your friends and you tell stories. Like stories are what is the foundation of entertainment, and our job, and in this room, we're so lucky to be able to create entertainment for a living. And if we can take that seriously, we take that responsibility seriously, like you did with this big idea, and you said, I'm going to make globalization a real thing. I'm going to make diversity what it actually should be, which is representing every part of the world in a time where entertainment is from all over the world and should be for all over the world.
It was so great to see, thank you for saying all that. It was so great to see, we had a Citadel Summit in Los Angeles because some of these teams were traveling in anyway. We could have had it set anywhere in the world, really. And the room was just full of teams from India and Latin America and in Italy, talking about the show and showing, this is what we're doing, we cast this, we're making this, this is giving everybody a glimpse into the artistry and the work that was going on. And I really felt like I saw something incredibly magical coming to life. And I know that whatever happens with it, that experience of creating something as a global community and everybody bringing their own authentic voice and vision to it is groundbreaking in itself.
Yeah, and it's not a us and the other thing anymore. You know, Hollywood always had, this is us and then everyone else is the other. And now it can't exist like that. Entertainment can't exist like that because people are not consuming entertainment like that anymore. And it's such an exciting time to be a storyteller, to be an actor, to be an entertainer, because the hyperspecificity is just so much more accepted now than it was when I first started 22 years ago. Like telling specific stories of specific cultures, of specific people in specific cultures was a no-no. Like there was no way you could tell a story about a small town girl in a small town nobody knew about in India or in Italy, and you would have an audience for it. But now people are experiencing culture, and I really think, the pandemic putting us at home and people having to rely on entertainment, on streamers, and I think really created a little bit of globalization and acceptance of different cultures and different languages in such a big way. I mean, if you see, there are so many foreign language shows that were called foreign language shows that ended up doing so well on your streamers. Talk to me a little bit about what you think the pandemic did to entertainment, because I think it really shifted it.
I agree. I mean, I think it gave people more time. There's obviously a lot to watch. You all know that as well as anybody. There's, and so to get this content discovered, we had to get very intentional about which of these shows that are being made in these international locations can we start to really get up there and elevate them to Amazon customers all over the world by putting them on Gateway, by telling a story for people as they came into Amazon, for whatever it is they were going to do there, whether it was Prime Video or Amazon, come into this world. And we did see a big, a much more increased engagement in all of that. But we really need the idea to have this show really help create bridges to allow those connections to happen is really the idea, versus kind of hoping that something will catch on. And how many great shows are out there being made in all of these countries, so many that none of us have even discovered yet.
How do you and your team choose, like, that's a lot of entertainment. Like, think about it, guys. How many territories do you have in Amazon? 200 and something? 200 and something. And that's a lot of countries, a lot of local language entertainment, a lot of different languages. So just take me inside, and I'm sure we'll all find this really interesting, but take me inside like a room where a decision is made. Like, does your algorithm tell you that in India or in Italy, these are the shows that are popping, and then people decide that, okay, we should showcase them globally? Like, how is that decision-making process?
Yeah, well, first of all, there's no magic algorithm that says we should do something or not do something.
We heard it right here.
Which you always
There is no algorithm.
You want to hope that like a card spits out of a wall and tells us this is going to be a great decision. This is art, and it is like anything else. It comes down to creative conviction. And, what we try to do as an organization is bring that content to life for our stakeholders across the world and marketing and everything else, and look at each other and say, I think this could really, really work outside its own country. It's a thriller, it's incredibly entertaining, you're on the edge of your seat, it deals with themes that would resonate certainly across Europe or beyond or whatever those regions may be. There's some more specificity in certain places, where we consider that as well. But if you think the show will travel, then we want to invest in the show to travel, and we want to make sure that people are seeing it and we're getting it subbed and dubbed in as many languages as possible. So we do have to call that early because you're wanting to accelerate that. Like, if you look at Squid Games, it's like they, had a tiger by the tail, and it just started because you want to be ready for that. So we need to be able to get things in multiple languages quickly, have the product be able to deliver it to the people who we think will watch it, and all those innovations are going on right now. But that's why I think this show will help. This groundbreaking series will help it'll accelerate that, because it's going to invite you into these shows versus having you rely on discovery. And one other thing I just wanted to hit on is, like, we're all chasing IP, everything's about IP and books and movies, and we've certainly had massive success with really well-known and loved IP across series and film. But IP has to start somewhere. We can't just be chasing IP, we have to create IP. And IP can be ambitious, and successful IP is often ambitious. So to me, the excitement around creating an original piece of IP that could go on to be the thing that people are chasing to get the rights to down the line to have more of, that's also really motivating, because IP comes from vision and ideas, and we can't just be chasing. We have to be generating, and we have to have strong people at the helm who are willing to say, like, I'm going to take a chance on that and build it. And there's great thinkers like Dwayne Johnson, like Priyanka, like Donald Glover, people who want to create something original, and they want to see it they want to bring a huge dose of ambition to it to have it expand all over the world. They want to be IP builders. They want to build something. And so to me, that's a very exciting area, since we do spend a lot of time cultivating and talking about IP, to be able to generate it yourself.
That's very cool. I think original IP, because IP can get exhausting. I mean, how many times have we seen Spider-Man? I mean, I still go watch it, don't get me wrong. But, you know, to be able to, especially with the demand on entertainment and content, creating new IP is important, but also investing in people. I have an interesting question, which I don't know, I might get into trouble for or not, depends. Depends on who's watching. I've been working in the entertainment industry for now 22 years. And I have done about almost 70 plus features. I've done 2 TV shows. But when I first did Citadel, it was the first time in my career that I had pay parity with my male co-actor. The first time in 22 years. And I wonder did that happen because the very few female decision makers in Hollywood was the one that I had a contract with. You know, I wonder if would that have been a different conversation if a woman didn't helm that decision? So, you know, and I've done many movies in which I've been co-leads with my co-actors, but like the ease with which Amazon Studios said, that's what you deserve, you are co-leads, and that's just fair. And I was like, you're right, it is fair. It's the first time I've heard that in like 20 years. And so I want to talk about, you know, we're talking about International Women's Day, we're talking about International History Month. There are so many challenges that women, I'm laughing about this, but it's kind of nuts. I put in the same amount of service time, I put in the same amount of investment and work, but I get paid much less. So I want to talk a little bit about issues that women have in entertainment, the glass ceilings that we have to work much harder to break, whether it's something as real as your salary, whether it's something as real as decision making, having women in front of the camera but behind the camera in high positions. That's when that change happens. That's when someone says that, that's not right, they're co-leads, they should be paid the same, they should be treated the same. They should have the same perks. Why is there a difference if they're playing the same parts? But those are not conversations that happened very easily. Those are not conversations that were thought of till we had representation in positions like Jen's. So let's talk a little bit about what it is like for, you know, a studio like you and for a female head to have to take decisions like that, because I'm sure it varies with different shows and different people, of course, but just personally from my end.
Does. I mean, you think about your body of work and what you've done leading up to this role, the physicality and incredible skill set that this role would require as this two-hander with, you know, another incredible, you know, actor. And there was just no question to me that was the absolute right thing to do. Whether that would have happened or not had I been there, I can't speak to that. I have great male and female, but male allies who are at our company, who have been working for me and with me, who know now to make space and to stop and think and do the gut check and have a moment. And I see that happening. I see that change. And I find it really encouraging and inspiring. But it does take often, for all those things you talk about, a woman in a room to be able to make space for stepping back, taking a pause. Let's think about the decision we just made. Does this feel like the right decision? Are we, you know, let's really gut check this. Let's bring these 2 female leaders up into this conversation, because they're actually working at a bit of a lower level than this meeting, but they are the people who are in there doing the work, and I'd like us all to hear what they think we should do. Those things have to be intentional, and they have to become automatic, and it's inviting and making space for other women and other points of view, underrepresented points of view, not just women, but those who identify as women or others at the company who you want to make space for. They have a great point of view. They work at the company because we want their point of view. So it's also just encouraging them to be a little bit braver about being out there and being able to carry the torch forward, as I have, of like, let's stop, let's think about this. I don't think that's right. I think we should do this instead. I think we should, reconsider that. Or, oh, you just cut this person off while they were speaking. I'm going to ask them to finish what they were saying. And you can do that in a nice way without having to create drama in meetings. I just think it's just a reminder for people that you need to make space for other people and you need to be a listener. And I try to practice that every day. But I think women thank you. I think women deal with a lot of different challenges still, both, I know Priyanka's in her experience, but, in these kinds of things in the workplace, that women are less likely to, as I just said, bring their voice to the conversation. 9 out of 10 women I talked to were like, the idea and the decision we come out of a meeting in, they were like, I wrote all that down. That was what I was going to advocate for. And I'm like, get out there in front, like advocate for it. Just say.
I do think that, we were talking a little about this earlier, but for such a long time, there have been such few opportunities for women, right? There's like the 2 jobs for a woman to succeed in, or the 2 roles when it comes to my profession, or, if you look at women in most professions, you'll see fewer women in higher positions. As you go higher, the women suddenly start, becoming less and less. So I think for such a long time, we've had that as soon as women come into a position of power, there's so much pressure that you're feeling to say the right thing, to, be, like you said, the smartest in the room, to like have the wittiest answer, or to have the, smartest idea. And that pressure is so much more on a female because she's the only one there. So I think when we talk about turning around, and I'd heard someone say this, that every time a woman takes a step forward, or anyone takes a step forward, turn around and pull someone else up with you. And I think just to practice that every day will create the kind of space that you're talking about, and give us the opportunity. Like when we talk about equality, equality is not about, being the same physiologically as a man. We're different, men, women, and everyone in between. We are unique as individuals. What we're talking about is to be able to have opportunity, equality of opportunity, to be able to have the doors open for us the way they did for guys, to be able to have the freedom of speech, and, to be able to have the freedom and not feel the pressure of being the one that has to decide the work-life balance. Women deal with a lot more of that pressure of how the family is, and the kids, and the home, and than the men do. And I've seen I had working parents, and I saw my mom and dad navigate this when I was very young, and I'm very grateful. I have an incredibly supportive partner who, is a wind beneath my wings, and we both balance each other's lives and careers because both are important to us. But that's not everyone's reality. So, being able to take away the pressure from women when they're put into positions, being able to amplify their voices, and take away the power from, you will fail, and if you fail, it's a failure for everyone. It's not. Let's take one step at a time. Let's all succeed together. Let's create opportunities for each other. Let's be proud of each other. Let's do business with each other. Let's not be jealous. Let's not be, the age-old ideologies that kind of divided people. It was just to take away the power. And now we're seeing, in my industry, it gives me so much joy to see so much female-on-female support. Like a woman coming into a room and saying, no, that requires equality. And, me working with so many female actors who didn't have leading roles written for them and decided to become producers or writers and do it themselves. There's an empowerment, and now we're partnering together and making movies together. We're like, okay, we're just gonna do it ourselves. And there's such a beauty when I look back. It's so amazing when I look back and I see the amount of alliances I've had with incredible women in my career, the amount of women that have stood for me, stood by me, my team. I mean, I couldn't survive without them. Their voices literally come out of my mouth. They push me up mountains, which I look extremely overwhelming, but I work with a band of women that are strong, that are not sycophants, that are not afraid to have an opinion, that run in the wild, and we navigate our own path. Don't worry about precedent. As women, and in what our voices are demanding right now, in the change that our voices are demanding, we can't look for a precedent because there isn't one. Our generation will create the precedent for the next generation of girls. What is the precedent you're going to create every day? I think you do that every day. You ask yourself that question. I see that in your daughters too.
Yeah, I do. I really believe all of that, and that's what I think becomes the bond, is you see that the same, and you feel the responsibility of being able to open those doors and to have people take pause, and have people who've been working a certain way for a very long time rethink how they work, how they communicate, how they listen. And it only makes your culture better, it makes the work better, it makes everything better. And when you talked about work-life balance, I think during COVID there were so many things that we learned and about, just being in people's homes and watching, especially our moms, but dads too, but especially our moms struggle with you're in an important meeting and suddenly you're wearing like a 2-year-old as a hat and they're screaming on your shoulders and you have to excuse yourself, or you see people muting and
we all saw those videos. Yeah. So many, yeah.
Starting to stress out, like you're in a conversation and it's mostly dominated by men and you're pressing pause and you're trying to keep somebody just right out of frame. And I would always make space for that, and we started communicating like that as a group. Like if someone needs to step aside, we can put a pause on the meeting. Like you are trying to wear a lot of hats, you're working from 7 a.m. to time was blurred, and so I'm really focused this year, especially it's one of my New Year's resolutions to really spend a lot of time talking about work-life balance and also like brain-work balance, brain-life balance. Like, how do we get off these treadmills of work and spend time thinking and getting inspired about what the next big idea is?
Because you can think.
Yeah, and taking the time to say, hey, I want to go spend 6 hours with you, Priyanka, on a walk or a whatever, and come up with this next big thing, and this is what I'm thinking. It's hard to do all those things when you're booked in meetings all day long, and then when you're not in meetings, you should be doing something else to care for your family. So we have to be better protectors of our schedules, which also means pulling more people up and letting them have the power to delegate and have the power to make those decisions and own them. And so this is a lot of work that has to be done.
I also think if I think about where that stems from, I'm the kind of person, I don't know how many of you are, but I always like the origin story. I'm like, where does this come from? Why do we do that to ourselves? I think that for a long time, young people, and I'm starting to see through this because I came from India, and I know that definitely the ethos of the harder you work, the more successful you will be. The more run down to the ground you are, the more you deserve where you're supposed to get. The higher you will go is because of the harder you will work, burn the candle on both ends. It was romanticized during my 20s. I didn't take my first holiday till at least 10 years into working. I was just like, I'm going to do 5 movies a year. I'm going to work the hardest. I don't need to sleep. I don't need to eat. Till I was in the hospital for 10 days because, the human body needs that. We need to sleep. We need to eat. We need to rest to be able to create. But I think our culture and our society also needs to talk a little bit about mental health. We need to talk more and normalize the fact that the brain is an organ, just like everything else in your body. Your tummy hurts, you call the doctor, and you're like, oh my gosh, I have a tummy ache, what should I do? But no one thinks about what's happening in our minds when our mind is what controls literally everything we do. We have to give ourselves and forgive ourselves sometimes for not being able to keep up. We have to take the time to say, I'm sorry, I need a moment. And it has to be okay in the workspace too, which is not to be an excuse to get out of work, because I'm a hard worker. Yeah. And I'm sure you all show up too. Because showing up matters. When you come to work prepared, and when everyone who's relying on you can say, man, I can go home early today because she knew her lines. I love that. I love when I make the day at the end of the day and I'm not like wasting people's time and no one's waiting around for me. And then we go get a meal because we all finished work early today and we have an hour. It's so much fun to be able to, be aware of other people, their time, and to have a certain discipline and to show up for work. But I know when I tell my team, I'm not available after 7 o'clock today. I won't be because I need to have time for my family. I want to tell jokes. I want to order silly food. I want to watch a movie. I want to, talk to my mom. I want to do stuff that fulfills my soul. And don't get me wrong, I did not know this in the 20s, okay? In my 20s, I did not know this. This is definitely, as I've gotten older, I've understood it and value it a lot more because I know I come back better to work when I have taken time for myself and my family to nourish my soul. It is such a crucial part of our jobs for us and for the people that we work with as employees, as employers, to remember that as much as we need to show up and we need our people to show up, we also need to give them rest and take rest ourselves. But speaking of rest, what time did we wake up last night? We were on a flight at 3 a.m.
Yeah. 3 a.m.
Not very rested, are we?
We're going on 90 minutes of sleep, but hopefully we're doing okay.
We are. We've been having a great conversation.
Yes. So I want to show you now, I hope they're ready back there, but I want to give you one more peek into, talk about it working. I was talking to Priyanka through Citadel production all the time. She was in the UK. How did it go? She was doing her own stunts. She was just so all in. And I'd love to show you guys a special little sneak of...
like a scene?
Yeah. Oh! From Citadel. Are we ready?
Is this streaming?
Mason Kane. Top spy. Hot stuff.
I'm just...
Bernard Orlick. Manticore. The X case. Any of that ring a bell?
You really need to get out of my way, buddy.
They wiped your memories. I was on a train 8 years ago in Italy. There was an explosion. I was pulled from the water. I couldn't remember who I was or how I got there. You were on that train with me.
No.
You were a spy, like me, for an organization called Citadel.
I don't know what you're on, but I'm gonna walk past you through that door, and if you touch me, I'm gonna scream, okay?
Catch.
Did you just throw a knife at me?
I thought you were gonna catch it. See, Bernard did it to me, and I thought you were gonna catch it, and then I was gonna be like, then how come you can do that?
Hey, you better back up.
I'm sorry, that
You
is
better
my
back
bad.
up.
I am backing up.
That's not backing
I'm
up.
backed
That's
up.
back up!
Nadia Singh.
Tier 1 operator identified.
Right?
That's...
You.
I wanted to show you so much more, but they wouldn't let me. And this is an unreleased piece of key art that we're just showing, especially for you all here today, but very excited about it. So Nadia Singh, what drew you to this character?
First of all, the idea of the show drew me to the show. I just think the social experiment of having such a audacious plan was very exciting, and then to be helming it was amazing. But Nadia is a complex woman. She bears the weight of the world, as most women do. She doesn't like to show her real feelings, her weaknesses, definitely not. She's the toughest one in the room. She's always the one who's a leader, taking the decisions, making sure everyone gets home safe. And then you see her vulnerabilities when she's alone, and I felt the burden of her character was just so much fun for me to chew into. As long as I've been working in America, I'm really seeking work that helps me showcase my diversity. I've had an incredible opportunity to work with tremendously talented filmmakers in India across genres, across characters. but I'm still seeking to do that here. And Nadia really gave me an opportunity to showcase a character that had depth, that was strong, but also was vulnerable. You know, she's such a prism of so many feelings and thoughts that you just don't know with Nadia what'll happen. Like, even I don't know what's gonna happen, like what she's capable of, because she's just really guarded. And it's just really fun to be able to play something like that. I haven't played a character like her ever, I think.
And what about you? Just, I feel like you jumped into way too many stunts that our insurance company would allow. But you were extremely physical in this and incredible. And as we watch dailies of you like being thrown across a table and jumping and spinning around with guns, like, how did you do all that?
Well, you know, I did a bunch of action Bollywood movies back in the day, and I realized I used to train with the stunt team, and I kind of didn't really have a body double that was like, you know, amazing, because I was the girl. You know, of course the guys had 3 or 4 body doubles, but I had, like, you know, someone who was like, she was good, but so I kind of learned to trust my body, and I kind of learned to do my stunts because I wanted it to look as good as the boys. Like, I wanted, like, my male co-actor's stunt double was killing it, and mine, poor thing, wasn't killing it as much because that was not her skill set. And so I learned how to do a lot of that stuff myself, and when I started working here, where you guys actually provide stunt doubles to actors, at that time when I was doing Hindi movies, that didn't really happen very much. But, you know, I still kind of trust my body because as an actor, at least I can see it. When I see stunt doubles that come in and just do the fight, they don't, most of the time, think like the character would. So if I get thrown across a table and I land, how would a stunt double turn around and look, and how would Nadia turn around and look in that moment? The body changes if you're scared. The body changes if you're angry. The body language changes depending on what you're thinking. So I work very closely with my stunt doubles. I usually do most of my stuff so that they can all my stunts myself, so that they can see, you know, how my character reacted to being punched or punching. And then the next day, for the wide shots and stuff, whatever the insurance company won't allow me to do, my stunt double ended up doing for Citadel. But I don't know, I've just trained myself that way, where I have to have control over if someone else is doing something for me, of my reactions. I'm very protective of my characters. But it took a lot of training. It took a lot of, you know, it's really hard for 1.5 years to stay in that discipline, to kind of go through Christmas and Diwali and, you know, stay fit and train 5 days a week. Oh my gosh. Come on, nobody likes to do that. At least I don't think I do. But that was really hard. But, you know, to be able to do that stuff with conviction, and Richard and I both, he used to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and train before we even started filming. And it required a huge amount of discipline and dedication, and we both, I think, really believe in the show so much. It was a lot of tears and pain because we shot it during COVID. We were in a bubble. We were not allowed to meet people. We were away from our families, you know, living in London. Our families had to fly down, quarantine to meet each other. It was hard, but, you know, everyone was there for a reason, and we all became sort of a family. Hence Jen getting like 50 texts from me while I'm sitting on set twiddling, and I'm like, hey, how are you doing today? I got cake on set.
Yeah, well, I think, COVID made me one of the only games in town for you.
You did.
But we had fun. But on to, you know, your company, Purple Pebble. We have a first look deal with Priyanka's production company. So many great things in development across film and series. We've, you know, have a cast announcement hopefully coming up soon on something else. But I'd love everyone to hear from you a little bit about Purple Pebble, what your vision is for that.
This is a funny story actually, which goes back to something we were
and
talking
why Purple
about.
Pebble?
Yeah. About 10 years ago, or 12 now, I was turning 30 and my mom sat me down. My mom is an OBGYN. She's been a working person all her life, and she sat me down when I turned 30 and she said, "You're too old for the business, I think." And I said, "What do you know about the business? You're a doctor." She was like, "That's what I hear. That's what I hear." I was like, "Okay, what do you hear in your practice?" And she goes, "I hear that in the movie business, the guys want to work with younger girls. So once you're 30, you're going to start getting too old for them. You're going to have another avenue for revenue." And I was like, "Oh, what? In my ripe old age of 30, I'm getting out." I'm like, but she put a seed in my head. And I think it did come from her generation being told that 30 is too old. And, in the business of vanity, our entertainment, and the equity that is put on how a woman should look, and not just women, actors or talent should look and be able to, be ageless and kind of, walk through glass and kind of never have
Hold
the
that all
natural,
together.
never have the natural process of life ever affect you, because you're an actor. Why should the same rules apply? But when she did say that to me at 30, I kind of thought about it, and I was like, I've been in the business of entertainment for 10 years. I know what production is like. I mean, I had never done it, but I'd been on many film sets. I'm the kind of person that will sit on set and not go back to the trailer once I come to set. I love sitting on set. I love hearing why decisions are being made. I never went to film school. My film school has been my career and the filmmakers that I worked with. And so I decided to start a small production company. My career started pivoting towards working in America. For those of you who know, you know, but for those you don't, I had a music career for like 2 seconds. And I was coming to America and, doing music and wanting to be a rock star, and quickly realized that my day job was better for me. But while I was doing that, I started making movies, and my mother named my company Purple Pebble because purple is the color of royalty in India, and she thinks I'm a queen. And Pebble because, we're a small company, and, we wanted to be the shoulders for other people. So we started making regional movies. Now, just to give you context what regional means in India, India is a very diverse country. Almost every state has its own written and spoken language. So alphabets are different. So the language sound, I don't speak most of the languages in India except Hindi and English. So and all of those local languages in different states are, have their own industries and have their own ecosystems. So while I was from the Hindi movie industries, there's a Telugu movie industry, there's a Marathi movie industry, Tamil movie industry, and I started doing movies in those languages with new filmmakers. When I first came into the business, and I was new, and my parents were doctors, and they only know what they'd heard, I didn't know anything, and I didn't have anyone holding my hand through any of it, except my mom and dad. And I was 17, and I really wanted to create a production house that gave opportunities to young people. And I realized that in production, if you have the right budget, you can make anything. You can tell any story. You have to have the right budget for the right story. You have to identify who is your target audience, what are they kind of an idea of, and keep it at cost. It doesn't have to be insane. And that's what I started doing. I started making small movies with new filmmakers. Some of my movies won the national award that she referred to earlier. And my mind suddenly was blown with the fact that I could tell stories. I didn't know I could. I didn't know I could have an opinion in the roles that I play or the movies that were out there. And that was very powerful to me. Anyway, my music career ends. I start doing movies in America, and I started looking for work here. I put a pin in my production company and started it back up again when I did my first look deal with Amazon. And Jen was like, "I want to see everything you want to make," and she had this unbelievable faith in, the ideas that I had, and I wanted to tell path-breaking stories. I wanted to have women behind the camera. I've worked with so many first-time female filmmakers and writers. We're developing so many shows together, which puts females at the helms of writers' rooms and characters, and diverse women from around the world, because to me diversity is global, and languages that are real to the communities and cities that you're placing your stories in. And she was all about that. And now I have a first look deal with Amazon, and we're developing multiple shows. We have 2 writers' rooms going for them for 2 different series, and multiple movies which we're developing, which are absolutely diverse, but it takes getting a platform and people and like-minded people in the business to say that we can do this, for us to be able to do it. But it's very exciting as an actor I've never really hardly produced anything that stars me yet, but I'm working with them for the first time on a few vehicles for myself. As of now, it was always just for everyone. We also at Purple Pebble take on small movies, indie movies that we will put our name to. We'll have you open doors. We'll help you to get to festivals. We'll help you to make the connections that you want to make if we believe in you. And that's what the company is. It's like a stepping stone for people who want to, be seen and be heard. And it gives me a lot of pride to be that kind of a shoulder to have people jump off of.
Small pebbles make big ripples.
Oh, yeah.
Well, she is really, I obviously meet a lot of talented actors and writers, and you are a born producer. You radiate that. You have huge vision, and that's what you lead with. So that's why I feel that kind of confidence around anything you want to do. I will not be surprised if next up at some point is directing for you. I just think I can just see you doing all of it.
I won't lie. It's something I've always coveted.
Oh, well, here we go.
But it's terrifying. Being a director is terrifying. And I do so many things. Like, I've been asked, I won't lie, I've been asked by friends and people, like, would you direct an episode here? Would you direct a show here? But I feel like, and we're all film people, so you'll understand this, that a director, when you take on a movie or you take on a show, it is a completely immersive process. You dictate or you control the actions of every department. Every department answers to your creative call. That's a lot of immersion. So that means my manager asked me this, Angela, who's a friend of ours. She was like, when are you going to direct? You have to direct. When are you going to direct? I was like, when are you going to give me 6 months off? When are you not going to ask me to come to do anything else out of all the other things that we do? Because that's how I would direct. And she said, we will one day. And I was like, all right, let's work towards that. When I have 6 months of just being able to focus on a project, then I would love to direct.
Good. I'll be right there for that conversation. I think,
I don't even know. We're just chatting, and everyone's
they're
patiently
telling us.
listening.
I wonder, should we take some Q&A or something?
Yeah, let's do that. That'll be fun.
Anybody want to ask us any questions? In the green.
Namaste, how are you? Oh. Oh, amazing. That's a hard job. Nature and wildlife, the patience that requires to do that is admirable. Not really, girl. I can't tell you the things they tell me backstage sometimes. No. Oh, first of all, Elephant Whisperers, amazing movie. Whoever hasn't seen it should watch it. It's nominated for the Oscars this year. Thank you so much for your question. I think for those who didn't hear, the question was that I have a beauty line, I do multiple things, and how do I balance it? I actually figured it out in my 30s. What I end up doing is I say I will work from 6 to 7. And however you want to fill that day, is fine. However I want to fill that day is fine. So I can bifurcate my mind into doing many things for those many hours, but after that is my time. So you separate work and home. You have to separate that. You can't bring your work home and you can't take your home to work. As soon as that compartmentalization happens, I think you're able to achieve so much more. And I think women, we generally can multitask well.
We've had to, yes.
Yeah, we've had to.
Oh,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Oh. Okay, so should we say this is it? Oh, you want to ask a few more questions?
Sure. You should, or I'm going to give you my mic.
Here.
So everyone.
So nice to meet you, Priyanka. So I know you navigated through so many industries, through so many countries. I would love to hear, like, whenever there are offsets, how do you get back up? Because I'm pretty sure navigating is so difficult. And in this world where, people can pull you down from negativities, how do you get up? Do you have any 3 pieces of advice that women can take, diverse groups can take?
Yes.
That's a very good question, because I think that what I do is I cry. I've been told many things which are very difficult to hear, and in my job, the pressure is so intense that you can't really show the chinks in your armor. Like, I can't arrive here with feeling crappy because somebody told me, yesterday that I wasn't sample size. Like, I should be crying, and I was hurt, and I discussed it with my family, and I cried to my husband and my team, and I felt really bad about the fact that I'm not sample size is a problem, apparently. And most of us are not, and sample size is size 2. Who's size 2 in here? Oh, I don't see a lot of hands at all. So, I've had times where I may have said something and it's been misconstrued, and you see people saying the meanest and the nastiest things, not just about me, but about my child, about my family members. And I think sometimes people forget that you're even human. And those pressures it's inexplicable. Like, I can't explain to you how it feels when you're sitting down on your couch and you just feel the world coming at you because people have forgotten that you're human. But I think what you have to do is surround yourself with people that love you, surround yourself with people that care about you and not about what you can bring to the table, not about what you can do for them, but people who want to see you smile, people who want to see you enriched. And that doesn't have to be a room full of people. That can be, you can count them on your hands. I can count those people on my hands. But I know when I'm feeling like that, or I'm made to feel like that. I don't need to wake up and feel like that. But when I'm made to feel like I'm less, or somebody tries to diminish my capabilities or my shine by picking on my insecurities, or then you just have to go home and see your family and your friends, and that's your real wealth. And that's your real strength, because you don't take anything else with you when you go. You take your family. When my dad died, he was surrounded by his brothers, his sisters, their children, their grandchildren. When my grandmother died, we celebrated her 94th birthday the night before, and we were about 50 of us dancing till 3 o'clock in the morning. That's what you take with you as your legacy, is the people that you collect around you, and I think that's what gives me a sense of balance and sanity. Otherwise, it's very difficult to survive in this extremely mean, opinionated world sometimes.
I think we have to wrap up right now, but on that note, I think on positivity, on kind of flying above as best you can, the forces that come at us that try to dim your voice or take you down, to do everything in your power to push back through those things. Fear can be a choice, and you can move past it and own your voice. And for all the women and men who support women out there, on behalf of International Women's History Month, make space for women to use their voice.
And encourage them to use their voice, support them to use their voice.
they can really improve the world. So thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you so much for being here.